What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and this is an unboxing and review of the Nerf Zombie Strike Nailbiter. Now, the Nailbiter is a new release in the Zombie Strike Survival line, which is pretty cool. This color scheme I really like. I like it better than the green for whatever reason. I think it's neat, and this blaster just looks awesome. I wasn't originally going to pick this one up, but then I saw it in the store, and I was like, wow, that thing really does look pretty cool. So decided to go ahead and pick one up, and given that my profession is actually construction, installing HVAC more specifically, I don't really use a nail gun that much, but we do every now and then, and so I felt like it was probably a little bit fitting that I would pick this one up. So we'll go ahead and check out the box a little bit more. Just looks like it's giving you all the information and storyline behind all the Zombie Strike blasters. You know, the same old thing. I'm not going to read through all this because that's boring, but it does have an in-strike attachment on each side, so that's pretty cool and interesting that they've kind of gone to that, at least in this sub-series of Zombie Strike. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open and see what we got. Alright, so we get our Nailbiter, we get our 8 Zombie Strike Elite Darts, and some instructions. So let's go ahead and load this guy up. I'm guessing that we want to move our clip up, and that'll be the easiest way to load it, and that looks to be the case. We can push it back down, and I think we're ready to fire there. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and go over the cosmetics, because obviously the Zombie Strike series is all about cosmetics. And this thing looks pretty darn cool. Obviously, this is based off of a nail gun, which I think is very interesting and something that I think they should continue, as I'm not a big fan of when they just take a lot of different tools and, you know, mold them into the plastic to make it look like the gun is created out of like wrenches and screwdrivers and stuff. That's just completely off the wall crazy. But this is something that you could possibly use as a weapon in a zombie apocalypse. You could use a nail gun to possibly kill zombies in an apocalypse. I think that's a little more practical. So, really like this idea. Hopefully they continue with this. You can do stuff with other tools, but pretty neat. You do have the option of obviously putting an attachment on the back there. They now have attachments in the Zombie Strike line, which is really cool. I do not have any, but maybe one day I'll pick some of those up and do a review on them. Obviously, you have all kinds of wire and stuff holding things together a little bit. You still have your cloth wrap here, which is a very interesting choice given that you have a large trigger that goes inside of the cloth wrap, so that doesn't really make sense to me. That would not work in reality because a wrap would go all the way around. But nevertheless, we'll keep going. We have some marks up here, I guess noting your kills or what have you. Not sure, but pretty cool. Obviously you have your Zombie Strike logo there. And yeah, there's, you know, the typical nuts and bolts things. But this one I think is pretty well done. We have some gears on this side, which is kind of interesting and pretty cool. But yeah, overall I think this is a pretty cool looking blaster. You do have an in-strike attachment rail on the bottom there, which is kind of neat. You could probably put one of those melee attachments they have now down there, and that would probably be something cool to have there. Maybe a bayonet or something would be also cool. But yeah, pretty neat. We have a neat part up here. I think that's pretty cool. Has the Nerf logo on there and the Zombie Strike logo, and that gives you somewhat of a foregrip, I guess, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure where I want to hold it. It's not very comfortable, but it is definitely cool looking. One thing also I've noticed is this blaster is kind of pointing up. The launch angle is up, so you're actually going to be shooting it a little bit higher than obviously parallel with the ground, which may be a good thing, because I know when I use blasters that work like this, and this is a semi-auto blaster, so when we pull this, we're going to fire off a shot. We don't have to prime it or anything. It does want to kind of pull down or pull up, and shooting straight is kind of difficult. So maybe that will help with that. We will find out. Go ahead and move over here and go ahead and fire off some shots. So we're just going to pull this handle trigger guy here, which All 4 of my fingers do fit on there. I'm sure if you have a smaller hand, that would be very, very easy to do. But we'll go ahead and see how this does. And we're not firing. Try again. Well, we're out now. Huh. So it seems like sometimes it didn't want to actually catch, which is strange. So we will load this up and try again. I'm curious about that. Alright, went ahead and threw a worker stock on there, so give us a little more support. And hopefully this time we don't have any misfires. I think maybe if you don't pull the trigger quite all the way back, then it doesn't catch and fire. That's a little strange, but I will continue to fire this obviously, and we will talk about that at the end of the video. But let's give this one more try. Eight shots is just not enough, but nevertheless, this thing is pretty cool looking. Let's go ahead and take this thing outside, put it over the chronograph in the range, and see what kind of performance we get. Alright you guys, let's go ahead and put the Nailbiter over the chronograph and on the range. Now I'm not expecting amazing performance, as this system just isn't really able to get great performance because you do have to prime it and shoot it all with one motion, and if you beef up the spring too much, it's going to be very, very difficult, especially for a younger person. So let's go ahead and put some shots over the chronograph. I am going to use the worker stock to help me stabilize this a little bit and shoot more level. As you can see, when you do have a stock, it does seem to be in line with the barrel, so that's nice. But when you're holding it with your hand without the stock, I can see you wanting to shoot this at a little bit of an arc, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but just something to note. So we will be using that stock to kind of keep our shots level. Here we go. Starting out with the zombie strike darts. Error. 56. 50. That one barely came out. 73. 70. That one didn't get a reading. 68. And we're out. Alright, we'll go ahead and shoot some strike darts out of this guy, and I think that would be a nice addition actually to this line, but I highly doubt Nerf will do that, especially now since they haven't started that. But the green darts with the orange-red plastic just seems a little strange, and strike darts are always welcome in my box. So here we go. Oh, didn't get, that was not a very good shot. There we go, better. That says 37, that's a little weird. 47. Error. No reading. No reading. Not very good. 49. And is that it? We're out. So yeah, those did not go very far or very hard, obviously, as the chronograph is having a hard time actually even reading this low of FPS. So we'll go ahead and try some fake darts. I highly doubt that these will do any better. 55. Error. 49. 48. 50. 53. 51. 49. Didn't fire. Is that it? That's it. 8 shots just doesn't seem like enough. Let's go ahead and check out those ranges. Alright, well, some of them just kind of pooted their way out here, and that was one of the zombie strike darts at like 13 feet, and then we have an strike at 15 and just past 16, so not great there. One about 20.5 feet with the zombie strike. We have a lot of fake darts right here at 22 feet, and one strike dart just short of that, maybe about just past 21. And then we have a few here in the 24-foot range, an strike and a couple fakes. And then we have the majority here between that 26 and 28-foot range. As you can see, we have 3 zombie strike darts on this side, a few strike darts, and a couple fakes. And then there's a couple that went further. One of the strike darts at 30, a couple zombie strike darts at like 30.5 and 31 feet, and then the furthest one just right at 35. So You know, range is definitely nothing to write home about, but the blaster is fun. So let's go back inside and I'll give you my final thoughts on the blaster. Alright, you guys, well, the Nailbiter is honestly a bit of a miss for me. Performance-wise, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. The 50 or so FPS is very typical out of a semi-auto pistol like this. The clip-fed mechanism's fine. I think it's a really cool-looking blaster. Cosmetically, I think it's a really awesome-looking blaster, but that's about it. You know, I hope to see more tools involved in the Zombie Strike line. I think that's something that they could continue, but performance-wise, definitely not great. Obviously, reliability is a bit of an issue, as some darts just kind of wanted to kind of go really short, and if you don't really commit to that pull, it may not fire at all. I think that was my problem at the beginning, is I didn't want to just pull it really quickly, and for a child, I could see that being very difficult. It's not a hard prime, but just wanting to pull it really hard isn't really natural, I guess, and just is something you kind of have to get used to. Does make it a little bit more like a nail gun or a staple gun, something like that, where you actually do have to pull it pretty hard. So I guess realistically it makes sense, but nevertheless, if you like this blaster, I will put a buy link in the description box below. It's around $30 retail, so keep that in mind. There's probably a better way to use your $30 than on this, but if you like the look of it, go for it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Smash that like button. Please subscribe. And as always, peace out.